All right, everyone. Welcome once again. It is Friday, and that means it's time for manufacturing e-commerce success. Don't you love live streaming? You just never know what's going to happen in the interwide world web, do you? It's time for us to get started on manufacturing e-commerce success today. We are going to have a great show today talking about taking your online networking strategies to a new level with someone that really knows how it's done. I'm Damon Pistolka, your co-host. Right over there, that pretty gentleman, Kurt Anderson, is going to take it away. Let's get going, Kurt, and have some fun.
Damon, happy Friday, dude. How are you, man?
I'm great.
Man, did you get a good night's sleep? You rested up? Are you sure? You positive? You ready for this one?
I jumped out of bed early and got things going, so I'd be ready for this.
Man, I tell you, I think one of the highest trafficked guests that we ever had. Like whenever it's like she breaks all records.
Yeah.
And she's been on multiple times. Usually she's a co-host. We now have her in the hot seat. So we've got Gail Robertson, the one, the only GailNow. Gail, good morning, good afternoon, happy Friday. How are you?
Happy Friday indeed. It is a beautiful day. We have here in Windsor, Ontario, Canada, we have some rain and some storms coming, but we've had, a stellar week of some heat and sun. So now's the time to let it rain.
Well, wonderful. And I think you have a long weekend, do you not?
Yes, this is the civic holiday weekend. And I'm actually going to be going away I'm leaving on Sunday though, because to avoid the traffic on Saturday heading north, and I'm going a bit to Northern Ontario. So.
Oh, wonderful. So for folks down so your neighbors down south, please explain what is this holiday weekend that the Canadians just wonderfully get to share and spend time with family. What goes on this weekend?
Well, it's a civic holiday weekend, and you know what? It is like one of those holidays that's to just support being our civic duty and taking a holiday Monday. So it's not as big as we had. Victoria Day weekend was in May. We had the Canada Day weekend in July. So, we needed a weekend in August, holiday weekend. So it's the civic holiday weekend. And if anybody else, and you know what, I probably should brush up a bit more on the historical concept, but I know I think we're supposed to be studying our civics and learning about and definitely learning more about our politics here in Canada.
Perfect. And I'm certain that that's exactly what you're going to do. Dive in on Sunday when
I am that person that will.
That's right. You're going to plunge right in because you are the recovering journalist. So, all right, let's dive right in, Gail. We've got tons of uncovered. We want to talk about online networking, building community, all these wonderful things. Now, as a recovering, I was some chemist. That's our dear friend Wesley. As a recovering journalist, just share a little bit on, what has online networking done for you, for your business? You've really, in my opinion, you are the master of this. We are excited for this masterclass right now. What do you have to? Let's get things started on online networking.
Well, I think the biggest thing is when it comes to networking is that you can connect what you're doing in real life with what's online. And probably where things really took off for me, as well as I think for a lot of people, was when that COVID hit and everybody was on lockdown and things were shut down. You had a couple of opportunities. You could just throw your hands up and say, oh my God, my business will tank. What will I do? Or you could step into the spotlight and go online and use that as an opportunity to, get your messages out, connect with others. And for me, that was a big opportunity for me with my business, because I was relatively new after being in a corporate world, starting my own consulting business. So what I did was I really focused on how to utilize the online world for a lot of businesses. And that's where I was really had a lot of success in manufacturing and getting, there was one company I was working with of how to, not throw up your hands and instead use some of the tools that the online networking held out. And I mean, how I met both of you as well, right? I mean, it was all through online networking.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. So now you have a little tagline. I believe it's right over your shoulder there. And I love this tagline. You've been using it for years and just you own it, patented, copyright, all the above, right? So sign up, suit up, show up. So what was the inspiration? What was behind this? Just, and I know, especially for you, because you're such an introvert, right? That was really,
Well, and that's a good point, because obviously showing up is so important. And but you don't have to be an extrovert to show up. And that's what a lot of people struggle with, because they think, well, they're not, they look at what I do and go, okay, well, I don't want to do that. And I go, that's true. That's true. You don't have to do what I do, because that's part of my brand. Instead, what you have to do is, what is your brand? So you may be, you may not find, stepping out into the spotlight as enjoyable or as exciting as some of us do, but you can still then get help with that. And you can do it in whatever way you are comfortable. It could be providing, educational information. It could be doing an interview with someone else. And that's where the live streaming comes in, right? So if you are reluctant to step into that spotlight, the best way to do it is to drag someone along with you and be in the spotlight with them. So, in terms of the inspiration for my 3 steps, and that happened too, I want to give a shout out to Inger Van Roy. So Inger and I were working together, and her and I, she was helpful in helping me sort of work on a lot of things with my business at the time. And, we always think that, having a process, David Chrysler, king of process, taught me, have a process. So the sign up is about mindset. That's, you have to decide first, you have to really embrace the idea of, you want success, and you have to decide that in your mind, okay, I'm going to go after it. Then the suit up is, that's where the curiosity and the research comes in. So whatever your plan is, then you have to, hold on just a minute. You still there?
yeah.
Okay. Sorry. I just had, I don't know why my phone took off the screen. So see, live streaming.
Yeah.
So the idea of, research and curiosity, that's where, once you get educated on something, it's much easier to then, take that next step of showing up, because then you can show up with greater confidence. And that's where I also come in, because I encourage people to, show up in whatever way is more comfortable to them. And sometimes it's, you need help to do that.
Right. I love, and I'm going to go here for a second. If we could maybe put it out to both you, Damon and Gail, let's break down each one. Okay. Now, like what you're doing, Gail, and, for, maybe to that introvert or the person who's like, man, I'm just a little bit uncomfortable with this whole networking thing, whether in person or online. On the sign up, do you guys have any tips, advice? How do we determine what to sign up for? Right? Because sometimes, I don't know if you guys have, all of a sudden I find myself, I'm signing up for everything, and you get a little bit of sign up fatigue, event fatigue, or, committing to different boards, or, volunteering, that type of thing, or business commitments. How do you do, any tips or advice on what to sign up for to really move the needle?
Well, that sign up is actually about signing up for yourself. So you first have to decide what is important to you. And I often say, sometimes you have to say no to others to say yes to yourself. So in my 3-step process, that signing up is more about an internal look at things, as opposed to going outside all the time to sign up and, what is the next best thing?
Yep.
And so you first have to step back and say, okay, what are my goals? What is it that I want to achieve? And how can I sign up for myself? And then, you may need some help with this. And this is where it is important sometimes to go get the help and support. And there are people within these networking circles that will help you. So that's the other thing about networking, is you'll find other people that can support you, lift you up, and then you do the same for them. So part of networking as well is, when people are in the comments, or you're going to be part of a show, it's really important to drop a comment, to say hello, to make your presence known, because if you're only sitting in the background there, people won't know that you're there. So I do want to give it a shout out. Carlo Abadi is in the comments. I know Carlo from Windsor, met him through, not even sure, probably, I think more in-person networking than I used to see him on LinkedIn. And he just mentioned, yes, that Emancipation Day was August 1st, but Carlo's very involved with Rotary. So our paths continually cross in real life networking. So So this is why it's important when you're talking about live streaming, for anybody listening right now, it's really good if you can drop a comment so that people know you're out there, who you are, even if it's just hello, this is what I do, or ask a question. Because I have met so many people by just being in the comment section and commenting. So you don't always have to, if you don't feel comfortable yet being on a show or even starting live streaming, the best way to learn about live streaming is coming and watching other people do it. And I think we're going to talk a little bit about, you both have a course that, explains people how to do it, which is, now that's the type of investment that is of value, right? If you can go get those tips from people that have already gone before you, it's much easier rather than stumbling along. And the other thing with live stream that's very important too is it gives you an opportunity to develop content. And there's a lot more forgiveness for when you're doing a live stream. People, because it's more natural, you're just people chatting. When my phone rang that time, it's like, no one has to panic. I mean, I went, oh, geez, why did that? And then I realized my phone was plugged into my computer, which normally doesn't happen. But life goes on, right? So you don't have to necessarily, you can take it in stride.
Yeah, I think that's fantastic. Damon, do you want to pull any comments up here?
Yeah, I will. So let's start with Zara. Thanks for getting here. Carlo, Emancipation Day was August 1st. And then Sunil, greetings from India. And founder of Home to Read. Awesome. And then we've got Carlo was talking about the Emancipation Proclamation was signed in England for them in the Commonwealth, but it wasn't recognized in the U.S. until President Abraham Lincoln brought it into law in 1863. It's interesting.
Gosh,
historical lesson from Carlo. Thanks, Carlo.
Yeah, well, we forget too. I mean, a lot of us forget. I forget all the time that Canada and England are still connected.
Oh yes,
yeah. I mean, I it was Canada like us. We're just like got our own thing, but.
Yeah, and Carlo, thank you for dropping that note. Well, I'll tell you, that's powerful. You know what? Let's hit that 1 second here. Like 30 years it took for the United States to. That's not great. So, all right, let's keep moving forward here. So,
someone else dropped a comment says Gail has been significant to my growth in my career. She's the best.
She is the best. Hey, we've got
LinkedIn user. I'm not sure who that is because they must have. Maybe they also talk. They must have their settings set to.
Yep. So,
private, so
thank you for dropping that note. So again, hey guys, drop notes, in the chat box. Let us know where you're coming from. Love to know that you're here today. Please connect with Gail. You will thank us later. She's just what a dear. I can't speak high enough about her. Just a wonderful human being, just a woman of integrity, great mom, and she's just wonderful. We're just so blessed to have her here today. Gail, let's keep. So we're talking about signing up. So whether actually, I love how you broke that down. Whether you're a little bit more on the shy side, it's just making that personal commitment. And we were talking about mainly online, right? Like how do you make that online commitment much more efficient, much easier? How about suiting up? Like, what do we need to suit up to really move the needle for an online networking opportunity?
Well, this is where something near and dear to my heart as well is the encouraging of curious minds and curiosity, because we often talk about creativity. We talk about all sorts of other traits, but curiosity is about asking all of those questions and really looking behind what may seem, what we just see in front of us. Often there's more behind the scene. So a couple of things about that. One, for anybody that hasn't watched Ted Lasso show, one of my favorite quotes from there is be curious, not judgmental. So when we do get curious, when we start asking more questions, we can see that bigger picture. We can also have greater compassion and understanding about other people as well. And in business, you want to get curious about your customers. You want to get curious about your, even your competition. You want to know and understand rather than just saying, oh, like a lot of times people say, that's my competition. I'm not going to help them. I'm not going to do anything. But competition is very healthy because it helps lift everybody up. And then I've learned with people that are in my field, like there's enough work and information to go around. You just have to be aware that, okay, what do I specialize in and what do I bring versus what they bring to the table? And when you allow for that type of competition to happen. It can actually help your business grow. So being curious, as a former, as I call it, recovering journalist, that's in my DNA now, to ask questions, to try to learn more. So whenever something happens, and I will say I learned this also, parenting a teenage boy, parenting a boy, period, has taught me so much, because as I've listened to him more, as I'm more curious about the why, what happens is I have now learned so much more about what makes him tick. And my assumptions about things can sometimes be very wrong. So I often use that as an example. I said, when we get curious about our children and what they're thinking, and it's a different generation, well, we can learn a lot. So that's that suit up. It's really about, asking those questions, because as a business, the more compassion and empathy you have, you can actually grow your business to a much greater degree. If you see the world in a way that's that there is enough for others, then there isn't that clamoring to, like, I'm going to hold on to information and not share anything, and instead open up those doors. And I am testament to this with my business. I have a very good friend of mine in marketing, and we find that we can share so much with each other and help each other out. And there's, we have different niches in terms of the work we do. So.
Awesome. Okay, let's dive. So I want to take it another step further here, Damon. So let's go here. Online. So say there's entrepreneurs, solo entrepreneurs, manufacturers out there, and they're thinking, okay, like, all right, online networking. So we can join opportunities, right? Or, hey, what if you, grab the bull by the horns, and what if you go out and start creating your own opportunities? So let's dive in. So Gail, you've done an amazing job. I remember you did a wonderful event a couple years ago. So events, webinars, live stream. Let's dive into what are some of the actual activities that they should be looking for or joining, or even, what could they create or start on their own? Let's go there.
Well, one of the things that we're doing right now, and when I post about this, I said this will be very meta, because we're doing a live stream right now. So there can be content from here that, Kurt, you could pull out something, Damon, I could, and you can actually do an interview with someone and then use that for your own promotional work. But you can also share it so if you're interviewing someone, they will share it on their pages. So when you start with one foundational item, so live streaming, for example, then you can pull content out that can be used in LinkedIn posts, in Facebook posts, in tweets. So you get a lot of mileage out of doing that. And you also have the benefit of inviting people, into the comments. And you don't have to worry about, getting hundreds of people attending, because sometimes all you may need is that one person that's going to take action. So I do want to give a shout out. I know Elizabeth showed up here. Yeah. So that was a person, Elizabeth Elias Hernandez. So Elizabeth is a person I was referencing, also works in marketing. She's just started a new organization called YQG Green. So she's helping support green businesses and how to avoid, like, the greenwashing. So it's not just about, we're green. And it's also about understanding, the financial aspects and how you can grow your business. That's, as she said, it's good for the environment and good for your wallet. And I was just she's out of town. So I was at an event recently to cover her off. And the joke was, when I was there, I said, I'm Elizabeth today. So I went and helped take photos and help with some of the networking, because we have a lot of similarities in terms of our extrovert personalities. So, Elizabeth is a really great example. And we met through in person. She actually, she tells this story too, that she knew I was going to be, this was back when I was working in the insurance world. She wanted to make a connection with me. So she got to sit at the table I was at. We started chatting and then connected on LinkedIn. And that was, many, many years ago. And now we are, not only do we do work together, but we've actually become great friends and helped each other out with our businesses. What's interesting, even though she sat at the table, that never really took off in terms of the company I was at. Like, things didn't work out that way, but our friendship went in a different direction. So that's the other thing, making a connection, whether in live stream, whether in real life or online. You may not get that business opportunity right away, but you never know what other doors will get open. And for each of us, we have helped open doors for each other. So I often tell people, don't get discouraged. You know, if you go post or you do a live stream or do something, like, you're not going to have people clamoring into your DMs to do business with you like that. I mean, it may happen, but that's generally not what's happening with me. It's usually that over time, people see you, they hear your messaging, and then all of a sudden they need something and they reach out. And that is, so it's about having patience, and it's about understanding how networking works. It's not this quid pro quo, like, I'm going to go to an event, I'm going to meet someone, they're going to buy from me. That probably is not a real healthy way to look at networking, and probably why people don't like it, because they feel it's so transactional, when it's really more about relationship based. Build those relationships, build those connections. And that's how, you know, a door will get open.
Yeah. We got Whitney stopped by today and says, hello, Kurt, Damon, and Gail from Houston.
Happy Friday, Whitney, Houston.
They got Whitney stopping by. But it is, and someone else said something about Elizabeth. Elizabeth has also been a huge help to me as ED of 2 associations. There we go.
Oh. So Nicole, the person who said, so Nicole is the executive director of Canadian Association of Mold Makers. Give a shout out. And so Nicole Vlanich does an excellent job of, you know, really promoting that organization. And so I've done some work helping her from a social media, and really she has stepped out on LinkedIn, and I know she could, hey, maybe she'll even be a good interview one day, because she has many stories about how being on LinkedIn has helped connect, because you can post on the association page, right? But people want to connect with the person, right? So when she posts on her personal, that's when people have reached out, and they want to know more about the Mold Making Association, because they have a real person to talk to.
You know, that's a fantastic point, because, you know, Damon, we say it all the time, right? People do business with people. And whether it's a business, you drive by this business and you get like, hey, what's behind those walls? What's behind the curtain? What's underneath the hood? And, you know, like in Nicole's case, where you hear, you know, like associations, you're just kind of like, oh, it's this moving entity. It's not a moving entity. There's people behind there. And it's like, how do you build those wonderful relationships? Damon, what do you want to chime in?
Well, I think, you're just bringing it up here, Kurt, with the associations and the online networking. I mean, just think of the geography that most of these associations cover. You really can't do, or even like our friends in Alaska. We've been up there with them before, and it's really hard when, what is it, Nome to Anchorage is several hundred miles at least, if not 500 miles. You know, we're talking great distances and hard to get between places. If you're not really, as an association, figuring out how you can deliver value to your members online and get them engaging with each other, because, you know, I might have people in Wisconsin and wherever else in different states, but then if I can get everybody networking together online, the people that are close might meet, or when there's an association gathering or there's a big trade show or something, then they can get together. But it all starts in the online and really gets enhanced with the in-person. And I think that's what the COVID really taught me, is that, hey, you can do a lot online and you can do great. I mean, you can do great online if that's all your option is. But when you can do online and then in person and add to it, it really makes a huge difference.
Yeah, and it works both ways, right? I mean, it used to be probably we would do the in-person and then you would get to the online. Now it's like online. Well, Damon, you and I, like, we met through online, and then when I was out in Seattle, we connected up, and Kurt, I'm coming for you too. So
that's
we'll,
right.
I mean, it's just it's a completely different thing, because it's almost, and this is a horrible way to say it, but it's kind of try before you buy, right? You know, it's like, okay, we can network online and it can be good, and like, oh man, they're cool and everything, but I really not going to go out of my way to do it. Well, then you can choose that. But if it's really somebody that you go, wow, they're interesting, let's get to know them better, then you can meet them in person and continue building those relationships.
And this is where, you know, when you're doing the live, I found generally people doing live versus video, only video, like doing a video interview. Video
Yeah.
interviews are good, but I even find myself doing a video interview is different than a live interview. There's a different energy. There's a different, like, because you sort of think, well, I can go back and edit that out. Whereas live, there's no editing out. Right. So I think live streaming is, and it's now, there's so many ways to do it very easily. Like we're working on StreamYard right now. Like it does a lot of the work for you.
Yeah.
It really isn't that difficult to get it going and underway. And like I said, I was really excited to hear that you have a course on this, because there's, it's about taking those first steps. That's that sign up. So if you are thinking about building your brand and getting content, if you want a quick way to get content, and this is the journalist in me talking, is do a live stream, get that content, because then you can do the interview. The person you're interviewing will, like even for today's show, I shared that on my social media, because this summer I've sort of taken a bit of a hiatus. I've been kind of laying low. I've been working on with one main client. And so this was, perfect. Now I have a post to do. So but it got me going and thinking about I took what you wrote, David, and then I thought, okay, I'm going to do my own post, because that's why I started with, people hear about network and they're like, and I hear this all the time. But when I usually encourage them to go, and this has happened, I said, come with me to an event. And then once they get out, get outside that comfort zone. That was something, Kurt, you asked way back, like, what's one of those first steps? And, if we lived in our comfort zone all the time, we'd never, ever progress in any way in our lives. So a lot of people that I know that are doing great things in their business, but then they hit those walls, because you're only going to grow so far if you're not embracing social media in some form. I'd say for most businesses, not all. There are some and there's some people that don't need to use social media. And I'm like, they're okay with where they're at. But if you're looking to expand and grow, you really can't avoid social media. And that means YouTube, video, live stream, LinkedIn, whatever platform where your audience and where your clients are, that's where you need to be. Trade shows. I mean, you could go to a trade show, but it's so important that you also, if you are at a trade show, to then share some of that online to let people know.
Yeah. And let's take it another step further. Hey, Damon, let's grab Elizabeth's comment. She's got a nice comment. And congratulations, Elizabeth, on her business. And what an admirable
shout out to the YQ Green.
Yeah.
What an admirable. YQG, by the way, is the airport code for Windsor, Essex. So that's YQG. So it's
There you go.
And Detroit is DTW. So each city, right, has a code. So that's YQG Green. So
nice. Right. Yeah. Hey, and Carlo just dropped a little comment there.
Yep. Carlos says, yes, Elizabeth, thanks for reminding me to thank Gail Robertson, Chief Curiosity Officer, for the shout out to Rotary too. I mean, you want to talk about that organization has taught so many hundreds of thousands of people over the years.
Millions.
I mean, to how to speak in front of crowds, get that out of you, and really be able to share your special sauce with the world.
Millions and millions of people. So, hey guys, thank you again for joining us. Drop us a note in the chat. We're diving in here. So let's go here, Gail. So you're talking about so we're talking about signing up. We're talking about suiting up. Now we're talking about showing up. I want to talk, big buzzword these days, that thought leadership, and, we always use that line, building trust. And so I love what you're saying. You've got to have that online presence. You just, if you don't, you're just, you're putting unless you have that, you're at a position where you're just crushing it, doing whatever you're doing, and you can be, under the radar or whatever. But for many of us that are not in that position, let's go into like some on the showing up side. Okay. What has it done for you as far as like thought leadership, or like maybe with engagement? Like, if people connected with you because they already know you, they've seen you on your lives, they've seen you through your events. Do you want to just share a bit like some of your experiences, Damon, if you want to chime in after? But what do you think there, Gail?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, this goes back a few years when I was on Twitter, back when it was originally Twitter. I was at a company, and that's where I came up with my brand, GailNow, because I needed a name. I've told this story a few times. I needed to pick a name, and I was getting ready to go to this trade show. So I said, so I went, well, GailNow. And I thought, I'll go back and change it later, but GailNow little
Yeah.
cover off, right? And well, it just stuck. And I can remember going to events and people would introduce me not as Gail Robertson, but as, oh, GailNow. And one time I was at a hockey game because the company I work for, we did some marketing with a hockey team. And I was walking down the concourse, and I hear this, hey, GailNow. And I looked around, and it was someone from the local media. And he was newer to the area, but he had seen me on Twitter. He couldn't think of my full name. So he says, hey, GailNow. We started talking, and he was a great contact because he was in more of like in the more the news, and he was sort of news and the business side of things, the sales. And so he proved to be a really great contact, because when I had some story ideas, and I would reach out to him. But so that's the kind of thing when you get known because of a social media presence, and people, even to this day, they'll say, oh, I know you from social. And now I also stress to people, I said, you do know I work in marketing, but some people think like my life is just cycling and events, and it's like this wonderful life. Okay, my life is pretty good though, but that's not all that I do, because I am in control of what I choose to share. So I'm sharing things that are obviously part of what I consider the GailNow brand. And cycling has been a really big part of making connections. And what I said, Damon and I talked about earlier this week, that, what I've learned about cycling applies to life, applies to marketing, because it's all about consistency. It's about getting outside your comfort zone. It's about building a team of people around you to help support you and lift you up. And all those things apply in the world of marketing. And one other thing about showing up, just a minute, I have an unveiling here. No. It just a minute here. So my friend found this top for me. I have to show you something.
Show up.
Great.
She found it. We're big consignment store shoppers too, consignment thrifting. So she found this at a thrifting store, and she doesn't even live around here. She doesn't work in this field at all, but she says, Gail, I found a shirt for you. So,
awesome.
So that's how far the show up. And I was like so impressed. I'm like, oh, even she knows about my show up. So
yeah,
I absolutely love that. So,
and you just don't, the other thing, and I really, when you talk about showing up, when you do, you don't know who you're helping, because it was funny last weekend. My wife and I were out, and we were actually listening to a band, and we had run into some people that I coached their kids in like third grade basketball for 3 or 4 years. And he goes, the father goes, wow, I really like your stuff on LinkedIn. It helps me a lot. He said, I look at it every day. And I'm like, no kidding? I'm like, are you kidding? He said, no, yeah. He said, keep it up. I'm like, thank you. Because you just don't know what you're doing. And it's, these things, like I think of manufacturing or a lot of people, they've got so many things in their head that because they're doing them every day, but could help their customers. You think the way networking, you can get out and really meet people around things. You talk about molding a lot, Gail, because it's one of your clients. And I think, that's an industry that's been around forever. We've been making plastic parts, and you don't hear a lot of people talking about it. You hear about the bad of plastic, but you don't realize that how much of an industry, how technically diverse it is, how critical it is to everything we do every single day, and how much you could be sharing about that to teach people how we can be better with plastics, how we can design better, how we can, just so much stuff. And that's what I think is really the cool thing about networking and these methods we have to be able to get out and teach people. Kurt, you say it all the time. You out teach the competition, and that's how you can build a business and create great friends.
And building upon that information and sharing, because not everybody does know. Like I've worked with, people that are too long in an industry. They all think like, oh, well, everybody knows that. No, they don't. No one really understands the intricacies. Plus, from a recruiting perspective too, there's so many job opportunities. Mold making is an example. It's not just the people in the shop floor. It's not just the mold makers. You know, a company I work with, they're looking for people in IT and accounting, you know, in a lot of other different, I mean, there's mold designers, but I mean, a good way to start is from the shop floor, but then you can, you know, expand and explore so many different parts of and that applies to just about any industry. That's why I said, find out where your passion is, and then you can pursue that and find a landing place in so many different areas.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And just kind of piggyback on the idea of, say, mold making, for example. So say there's a small mold making manufacturer, you know, and you're like, well, you know, gee, how would live streaming, you know, I hear what you're saying, but you know, that's not for me. Like you said, Gail, everybody already knows. They don't know, you know, like, so instead of assuming that everybody knows, I always I would love for, how about all of us assume that everybody knows nothing, you know, like it's a clean slate. And if you just dedicate yourself, one thing that I love, you know, with our relationship, Gail, is like, you know, you've really taught me about like being that go giver, you know, and, you know, just being over the top, give without expectations, building this community, just, you know, we're letting in you know, we're talking about education, out teaching the competition. And when we say out teach the competition, you know, taking Gail's strategies right there. Okay. So again, let's use the, you know, say whether it's, was it our friend Nicole at the, you know, Mold Makers Association, or you're a mold maker yourself. If you started a live stream show and you're like, hey, what are we going to talk about today? Well, hey, what is mold making? Hey, what products go into mold making? What industries use mold? I mean, like, we could have an infinite number of topics right around mold making. And then to Gail's journalist point, start bringing in other subjects, bring in customers, bring in a competitor, bring in your vendors, bring in your suppliers, like just interview somebody every week. And now all of a sudden, like, you are branding yourself as the industry, the mold making industry thought leader, or whatever jam you're is, what, you know, whatever solution that you provide. Gail, anything that you want to piggyback on that concept?
No, I think that that covers it in terms of, you know, we've covered off the 3 steps, and I would just encourage people to really look at, you know, getting out of their own damn way. I put that in my post today. I said, get out of your own damn way. And I think it was, who was it posted this today? Eddie
Saunders.
Eddie Saunders.
He just posted a really good meme that had like, you know, here's the manufacturing going, here's marketing drowning over here. And it says, here's the person. And then it says, and everything else. And they're, you know, spending time on everything else. And I hear this all the time. I don't have time. I don't, you know, don't know what to post. It's like, listen, I can help you find the time and find ideas. Those are things that, and you can get, if not myself, there's other people that can help you do that, because there's a wealth of information. And I tell you, as my years as a reporter, everyone has a story, a lot of stories, and you just need to, you know, spend some time sharing that, because there's a lot of people know more than you, but there's a whole bunch of people that know a lot less than you. So
absolutely. Hey, and Whitney's got a great comment. Damon, I'm grabbing here. So,
yes,
you know what? And this whole thing is just, and Damon, we've been talking about that a lot on the show.
There we go.
Right. I was going to put up the.
Go ahead.
Now Kurt usually does this, so of course I just intrude by doing it because I don't know how to do it right. But this is funny that the image you talked about is manufacturing, marketing's over here drowning, and they're looking at literally everything. It's so
you gotta love Eddie. He's that edgy, you know, because it's so true. And it's and you know, now it's like, oh, well, the first thing they're going to cut is marketing. Yes, that's so true. It's not a good way to approach business, because especially right now, like now, the value that you have on, you know, just sharing organically, forgetting about ads or paid content first, and that's where live streaming, it's a gift waiting to be open. So
well, we could go into this a long ways, because you know, the old thing was, you go 5-6 years ago, before COVID, Google ads were a reasonable source of advertising, right? You could turn on ads and it's not that expensive, but they've gone up 2-3 times what they were then. And that was the route everybody took. So you really have to look at how can you create organically ranking content and stuff that organically people want to see, to get outside of just paying an extraordinary amount of money to get your stuff out there.
Yeah.
Earned media is the way to go.
There you
Earned
go.
media.
There you
Drop
go.
the
See?
mic. Earned media. Gail, we're gonna start
Hacker,
winding down. I know
professional. That's what that is.
That's
Hacker, professional.
That's right. So I know, Gail, you got a busy weekend ahead of you. So let's start winding down. So any last parting, first off, how can everybody find and connect with you outside of just obviously LinkedIn here?
Yeah. Well, they can find me on LinkedIn here, Gail Robertson. If you Google GailNow, you'll find probably more than you'll ever want to know about what I'm doing. I haven't done any TikToks for a while. I'm kind of got out of that habit, but every once in a while I'll go back and do one just for fun.
Right.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay. And so one question I would love to ask, if you're ready for this, and I feel you've probably covered it or answered it multiple times already. We'd love to ask, what is the best business advice that you've ever been given or that you would love to pass along? So like you said, recovering journalist, you had a corporate career, bed and breakfast, as a matter of fact, I was thinking about you, at your bed and breakfast. My daughter and I were out that way last summer. And so, with this whole career, you launched into entrepreneurship. Were you given any like really profound advice that you'd like to pass along?
Probably the biggest part is that to really, get out and use those connections, because doors get open when you're out meeting people, and not just in your own like sphere. The power comes from the further you get outside of that immediate circle. So, when someone asks you to go do something or go to an event or show up somewhere, say yes.
Just say yes.
Just
and
say
what
yes.
you can do is you can sign up, then you can suit up, and then, gosh darn it, just go out and show up. So, Damon, hey, we've got a couple comments. Carlo dropped a couple book comments
Yes.
that we can grab.
Yeah, he did. Carlo, thank you. He said the obstacle is the way. Yep, that's a great book too.
Yeah.
And Whitney dropped preach. There's so much data out there why you shouldn't cut marketing during times of uncertainty. And it is. It's like, oh yeah, we're going to cut our salespeople and our marketing because the economy is bad. It's like, yes. Carlo said again, the timeless art of turning trails into triumph. I think it might be trials. But Carlo, thanks for dropping the comment there. Wow, we had a lot of comments today.
Yes.
Woo.
Awesome. Okay. Let's wind down. And so, Damon, your takeaways, like we Gail, you're gonna love this. Damon and I had a conversation just earlier. We're like, hey, what's something that people could do that just really scares the daylights out of them? Get them out of your comfort zone. And you've talked about that repeatedly. So let's, you dropped all sorts of wonderful words of wisdom. I encourage everybody, go back, hit the rewind button. If anything that you missed from Gail, catch that earlier. Gail, any last words of wisdom that you want to share as we close out?
No, I would just encourage just what you said. Do something that scares you or that makes you uncomfortable, and then find out how you feel afterwards. And often it's not nearly as scary as you may think, and bring someone along with you. There's always someone else that will ride shotgun with you. So ask someone to do that.
The buddy system. I absolutely love it. So, all right, guys, we're going to wind down. And so, Damon, as we wind down this wonderful, amazing, incredible week that we just shared together, what I'd love to do is just, hey, we'd like to tell everybody, go out there and be someone's inspiration, just like this wonderful young lady right here was. And how about, if you've been hanging out with us for however long it's been, how about a big round of applause? You can jump out of your chair, jump out of your couch, wherever you're sitting, and give Gail a big, big standing ovation, round of applause. Thank you, Gail. We appreciate you, applaud you, commend you, send you tons of love. We cherish your friendship, your support, and thank you for sharing your wisdom today. Damon, dude, why don't you take it away, will you please?
All right. Well, thanks, Gail, for being here today. It's awesome having you as always and dropping all that knowledge as you did. It's we just got to get out there, and it's uncomfortable for some of us, but once you get going and you get into a rhythm, it really becomes something that's a powerful part of your life and your business. So, taking these online networking strategies to a new level is a good thing. So let's do this. Let's have a great weekend. We'll be back again next week talking about more about manufacturing e-commerce success, maybe a little live streaming. Kurt and I've got some stuff going on. Like we said, our course is kicking off with the first round of people. We were having a lot of fun with that, but we'll be back again next week, hanging out and having some fun. See y'all on Monday.